Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu subhanahu wa ta'ala fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa nashhadu anna sayyidana wa nabiyyana wa habibana wa shafi'ana wa karimana وسندنا وأولانا ومولانا وهادينا وطبيب قلوبنا وقرة عيننا ونور أبصارنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرواحنا وأرواح آبائنا وأمهاتنا فداه صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته وأهل بيته وأولاده وعترته وأصحابه وأنصاره وأصهاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأحبابه ومحبيه وأمته وعلى كل من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعلينا معهم أجمعين أما بعد. Honorable ulama ikram, respected elders, brothers and friends, Allah tabarak wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu wa amma nawaluhu rabbul alameen has kept success in his deen. A person who is deendar, a person who has deen in his life, then it doesn't matter what the person does not have, and it doesn't matter what situation that person is in. Even if that person is thrown and catapulted into a raging fire, he is still successful because he is deendar. Even if he is falsely accused and imprisoned for 9 years, for a long term, but he is on the deen, he is still successful. Even if he is swallowed up by a whale and lives in the bottom of the ocean, in the stomach of a whale, he is still successful. Even if he has stones tied to his stomach and he has nothing to eat, he is still successful. Even if his daughters are divorced without any reason, he is still successful. And even if he is killed, he is still successful. Why? Because he is on the deen, on the commandments of Allah, the blessed ways of the Prophet of the time, or in our case, the blessed ways of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these examples I've given are just a few, and we find them in the lives of the Anbiya Kiram and the Sahaba Kiram. And a bedeen person, who person doesn't have deen in his life, if he doesn't have deen, then it doesn't matter what else he does have. He can have the Bugattis and the blings and the riches and the wealth of the world, but he doesn't have the essential ingredient of success, due to which it doesn't matter what he's got. He's not got Allah ko nahi manta, Allah ki nahi manta, Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam ko nahi manta, Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam ki nahi manta. Doesn't have the essential ingredient of success, then it doesn't matter what the person has and what situation that person is in. Even if he or she is sitting on a mountain of gold, that person is still unsuccessful. Even if that person is the head of a huge empire, that person is still unsuccessful. Even if the person is surrounded by yes men and he is given good health and he has rivers running under his feet and he has all the world's riches, he is still unsuccessful. And we find that in the examples that Allah Ta'ala have given in the Quran of the past nations. Any ism, any philosophy, any ideology, any materialism that anyone can think of, that my success lies here, there, Allah Ta'ala one by one has negated everything. If we look in the Quran, somebody thinks that we're in a majority. Yeah? Like people say, this many people can't be wrong. So Allah Ta'ala gives the example of Nuh alayhi salam's Qawm and his people. They were in the majority, and the people of Iman were in a minority. And yet, despite their majority, they were still unsuccessful. If people have weaponry and might, and they think that because of this will become successful, Allah Ta'ala gives the example of Qawm Ad, who used to say, Man ashaddu minna quwwa, who is more powerful than us? They used to uproot trees from the ground. Their child that was born, in the Tafasir, it says that child would be born, he would be 6 foot tall. Imagine how big their maternity wards were. Huh? And they could move mountains. They had it all. But they didn't have the essential ingredient of success. Unsuccessful. Even if they have wealth. Qarun, about Qarun it said in the Tafasir, Allah Ta'ala himself in the Quran, he praises his wealth, that he had so much. And the Mufassirin have written that to carry the keys of his treasures, 60 donkeys were needed. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran that about his wealth, and then in the tafsir is written. And then, so you think that, the keys must be really big, made of steel or something. So then they've gone on to say that the keys were made from leather. So they're actually light. But there were so many of them that 60 donkeys were needed. So imagine how many keys there were, and imagine how many vaults he had, and imagine how much wealth he had in there. He topped the rich list of today. And he thought, and another thing about Qarun as well, if somebody thinks that, I'm related to such Molana, I'm a Sayyid, I'm this, I'm that, I've got ancestry, Allah Ta'ala has negated that, both things negated in Qarun's case. He was a cousin brother of Musa alayhi salam, but he didn't have the essential ingredient of success. Allah Ta'ala made him fail. He had the wealth, he had the bling, and people used to envy him. He used to say, Ya laytalana mislama utiya Qarun. We wish we had what he had. Like we do nowadays. We see something and we say, Ral tapkate hai. We start salivating. Ya Allah, please, give me like this. In the early days when the Jamaat started going from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, in the 50s, one Jamaat went to America. So in those days, those countries were like considered third world countries. And now they're going to America, land of the free, land of riches. So the elders, they sat them down, Hazrat Molana, Inamul Hasan Sahab, Rahmatullah, Molana Umar Panampuri Sahab, Rahmatullah, they sat with them and they said to them that, look, you're going from a poor country, you're going to a place where there's an abundance of wealth. It's like money comes out of the taps. You will see there wide roads, big cars, huge buildings. And you'll see an abundance of food and everything. So when you go there, वहाँ जाकर उनकी दुनिया देखकर अपने मुंह से राल मत टपकाना. Don't go and start envying them for the abundance of the dunya. Don't start salivating, drooling over their wealth. Because Allah Ta'ala does not take the service of His deen from those people who go crazy, gaga, gandu over the dunya. He said instead of salivating, drooling from your mouths, instead shed tears from your eyes, thinking that what's going to happen to these people if they go without the incessant ingredient of Iman. Think about the aqibat, think about the akhirat. And instead of salivating and envying them, cry for them, feel sorry for them. If you do that, then Allah Ta'ala will take work from you. And then they went on to say the Sahaba Kiram, they saw more wealth than us. They went into the Sasani, the Persian Empire, and the Roman Empire. And you read about them, they had carpets. Persian rugs are still very expensive. They had, in those days, the Persian carpets were not just made from silk and threads, but they had jewels in them. Each handspan was worth thousands. And the Sahaba Kiram went there, and they didn't look at all that and start thinking, the famous story of Rabi ibn Amir, when Rustum, he decorated his court to try to influence and impress Rabi ibn Amir, that he'll get affected by our splendor and then he'll back down. But he didn't know Rabi ibn Amir. He didn't know the Sahaba Kiram. The Sahaba Kiram were only influenced by Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were only influenced by Akhirat. And their slogan, like we have slogans nowadays. Their mottos, slogans nowadays. People say it all the time. You see it on the billboards and everywhere. Look at the slogans of today. Just ponder upon them. You can't beat the feeling. Just do it. I'm loving it. I was doing imamat in Ireland. So when I used to walk to the masjid, there was a massive billboard. And it was an ice cream advert. And you know what he said? What the thingy was, Dr. Saab? He said, dare to go double. Dare to go double. It was a 2-flavored ice cream. He said, dare to go double. I said, La hawla wa la quwwata. I mentioned in Bayaan, people said, Masa, you're reading into it too much. I said, are you stupid? There's a message behind that. Dare to go double. And then underneath it, there was another one. Unleash the beast. Unleash the beast. They said, Masa, you're reading into it too much. I said, are you stupid? Obey your thirst. Unleash your beast, meaning let your shaitan, your nafs, your caprice come out. Become a party animal. Go wild. Lay your hair down. These are the slogans of the people of the world today. Once I was in Jamaat, and so the Sathis, after a few days, they said, to the Amir Sahib, they said that, one Sati, he said that I think I should treat the brothers. So he gave him permission. So they ordered from these places, you know how it is now, yeah, smoothies and milkshakes and cookie dough and all that sort of stuff. So they ordered that. So they said, once I've come, I said, nah, it's all right, okay, I've had enough, as you can tell. Yeah. Anyway, so next morning, after Fajr, I went into the kitchen to have a cup of tea, took permission from Amir Sahib. So I'm sitting there drinking my tea, and the boxes, they'd thrown them in the bin. The bin was overflowing. So I'm drinking my tea, and I read the slogan there. You know, this is a slogan for a milkshake place, for a dessert place. Nobody needs to know. Allahu Akbar. Nobody needs to know. What is all that about? That's shaitaniyat and nafs. Apply it here. Just do it. It doesn't matter if she gets pregnant. It doesn't matter if people find out. It doesn't matter if your mother's heart gets broken into 1,000 pieces. Just do it. So these are the slogans, because the dunya today has become dunya of nafs and caprice and desires and living for the here and now. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يَتَمَتَّعُونَ وَيَأْكُلُونَ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ الْأَنْعَامُ وَالنَّارُ مَثْلٌ لَهُمْ. The disobeyers, they're eating, they're drinking, they're benefiting like animals benefit from the ni'mats of Allah. And the final destination is hellfire. A mu'min is not like that. But unfortunately now, you know, on the groups, I always say, on the groups, you know how it is. If you're on one of these groups, I used to be on those groups as well. Hazrat Molana, such and such, big Molana is coming. He's doing a Bayaan. So somebody posts the poster, lads group or girls group. So shall we go? So then people, Amen, 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 ting, 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 ting. Yeah? So they say, okay, right, we got Jamaat. Kya Karib? Karib karo? Loud enough. So then they like, yeah, Amen. Right? So now they think, MashaAllah, we got a Jamaat. We're going for a Bayaan. Now really, we were supposed to be listening to the talks of Iman and Yaqeen every single day in the masjid and deliver them in our homes. But once in a while we go to a Bayaan and we think, MashaAllah, Bara Tir Mara, great achievement. When in fact this is supposed to be every single day, because this is our spiritual food. So anyway, after that, Amen, Amen, Amen. Okay, whose car? And then the next question comes up. Where are we going after that? Where are we going after that? That message, you know what it means. Meaning, such a great achievement, let's treat ourselves. If I was on that group, I'd say, we're going in the path of Allah, where do you think we're going? You heard the Bayaan, what do you do now? Time for action. Allah ke raste mein niklo. But that question, you know what it means. So somebody says, oh, there's a new burger joint. Somebody replies, no, I'm stuffed. I fancy something like, okay, let's just go for a nihari then. Let's just go for some alim, some paya. Nah, let's just go for... This is what it's about. The Sahaba Kiram used to eat to live. One of the elders said, Sahaba Kiram used to eat just enough so that they could keep their backs upright and they could survive. And now we live to eat. I once went to a janaza, and it was in a far off place. So we had to stay over. So people came. People from England came. So I was with an elder. So we sat down to eat. So this elder, he was a slow eater. So he's eating. I ate and I finished quickly, and then I went, there were some sofas there, I went and sat down. All the other guys, about 10, 12 guys, they were having this conversation. And the Buzurg was sitting there listening. And they're talking. After they finished, they all came and sat down. So the Buzurg was a da'i, an inviter. Inviter is always looking for an opportunity. On Eid day, wedding day, family get together, always looking for an opportunity. And then he'll start giving dawah. So he then started. He said, wait, we were just sitting now. What were we talking about? Even though he wasn't talking. But he said, what were we talking about? So everyone was like, navel gazing, everyone looking at the carpet, looking embarrassed. So he said, wait, come on, tell me, what were we talking about? So nobody replied. Then he asked the guy closest to him, Batao? So then he pondered over the conversation. So about half an hour they'd been sitting, eating the food, and the whole conversation was about food. Have you tried this curry house? Oh, you need to come to Bolton. Oh, we got this curry house. No, you need to come to Preston. You got this. Oh, come to Blackburn. We got this restaurant. And then the Buzurg started his dawat. He said, "Bhai, khane pe baithe hai, khane ki baatein kar rahe hain." Yeah, food was just a necessity. He just did it and moved on. But now, because we become people at nafs, it's all become about food. Ha ha, he, picnic party, nihari, masala dosa, outing halim, and just live your life. That's not the life of a mu'min. A mu'min's life is something different, which is why now people of the world are seeing glimpses of that. And they've been forced to question, who are these guys? And that's led them to Islam. What kind of result do these people have? What kind of akhlaq do these people have? That's what a mu'min is. Anyway. Kahan tha? Huh? Oh, the slogan. Yeah. So Sahaba Kiram, Jazakallah. Sahaba Kiram also had a slogan. These are our slogans. Just do it. Obey your thirst. You can't beat the feeling. I'm loving it. Yeah? And the Sahaba Kiram also had a slogan. Allahu Akbar. We should etch it on our hearts. Allahumma la aisha illa aishul akhirah. Allahumma la aisha illa aishul akhirah. Oh Allah, this life is not the real life. The real life is the life of the hereafter. This life, as one of our elders he says, ये दुनिया की जिंदगी तो लुक्खम सुक्खम भुक्खम प्यासम गुजर जाएगी. Dr. Ami Sahib. This life is passing. It's going to pass in adversity, in difficulty, in hunger, in thirst, in poverty. It's passing. If you're rich, it's passing. If you're poor, it's passing. It's going to pass. But this life is going to come to an end. And you're not going to take anything with you. And the real life is the life of the hereafter. So Sahaba Kiram, their slogan was, Allahumma la aisha illa aishul akhirah. So Sahaba Kiram, when Rabi ibn Amir radiallahu went, and then he saw this, he didn't even notice. Like you get nowadays, sometimes somebody drives up in a Aston Martin or a Bugatti. People are like, yeah? So Allah wale, like one time we were going in Jumu'ah, and this guy, he put one of our satis in a really nice car and drove him there. And then afterwards, everyone's bugging him. Molana, that car you sat in. This was nice. So what? Is it the car? Wheels, seat? No. What's up? Do you not know? So I don't know. It's just a car, right? But the people who's gaga for the dunya, he's like salivating. So the elders, they said to the people who are going to America, that don't salivate over the dunya. Think about your akhirat, think about the akhirat. Now what's going to happen to us if we go without iman amal into the akhirat? And cry over yourself, cry over humanity. If you do that, Allah Ta'ala will take work from you. Like the Sahaba Kiram, they went into these empires and they saw the affluence and the abundance, and they didn't salivate, they didn't beg for it, they didn't get greedy for it. Instead, they cried for them and they invited them with love and affection. So any ism that anybody can think of, wealth has been negated. Empire, if I have a kingdom, I'll become successful. Allah Ta'ala gives the example of Fir'aun and Namrud. Somebody thinks, if I'm an MP, if I've got position, if I become a president or prime minister, I'll become successful. Allah Ta'ala gives the example of Haman. He was a minister of Fir'aun and yet unsuccessful. Somebody thinks, no, if you've got agriculture, they will become successful. Allah Ta'ala gives the example of Qawm Sabah. Qawm Sabah, about them, it is written in the Tafasir that Allah Ta'ala had given them these orchards. And so abundant, so fertile was the land that Allah had given them. In the Tafasir it's written that there were no fungi or insects or flies in their gardens. Allah Ta'ala removed everything. No fruit ever rotted. And it's written that a person would go into a small one of their vineyards or orchards, put a basket on his head, walk from one end to the other. By the time he exited, his basket would be filled with fruits, without him breaking anything off, just from the fruits falling off the trees. Imagine how many trees there were, and imagine how much fruit there was on there. It said about the bigger orchards that a person could enter and walk continuously for a month before he would exit, and in that month he wouldn't see the sun because of the canopy of the trees. And they thought our success is in that. Allah Ta'ala sent the Prophet to explain to them, this is all well and good, this is ni'mat from Allah. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. All ni'mats are from Allah. Therefore thank Allah, obey Allah. become subservient to Allah. They said, no, we don't need Allah, we got all this. Allah Ta'ala sent His azab, destroyed them. Somebody thinks if we're businessmen, if we have big businesses, we'll become successful. Qawm Shu'aib, Allah Ta'ala gives example. Somebody thinks if we fulfill our desires in new ways, gratification in new ways, invent new methods, we'll become successful. Allah Ta'ala gives the example of Qawm Lut. And like that, any ism, any way of life that a person can think of, Allah Ta'ala has negated everything one after the other. The success is not in any of those things. Success is only in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a person who has deen in his life, even if he has nothing, he's still successful. Nowadays, people think, Shab, you don't know, you're a Buddha, you're an old guy, you don't know how hard it is, what sacrifices we have to make. I went to a wedding or something, and there was this youngster who'd quite recently come back from 4 months. Right? Now, I joined Markaz in 1989. So in the 8-year period that I was there, I saw virtually everyone that came for 4 months. I would meet them, I'd befriend them. So I saw loads of young people, 17, 18, 16-year-olds, coming, changing their lives, going for 4 months, and then coming back, completely changed people. And then I got to know them, and then over the years I would meet them, they'd go for 40 days every year. Anyway, so this youngster now recently, he went for 4 months. And then he came back, mashallah, spent good time. So I meet them, him and his dad. Now his dad, mashallah, he spent time in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s. He spent 4 months. His dad, mashallah, is still Bashara, Sunnah, still striving in the path of Allah and everything. And this youngster, mashallah, he's still going in Jamaat 3 days and I don't know, 40 days maybe. It's not been a year anyway, but you know, he's still going Jamaat and everything. Anyway, so then in this wedding, the dad comes, dad still got a beard, white beard now, and topi and everything. This youngster comes, he's wearing a jubbah, but he's got short back and sides. And I'm like, whoa, I'm surprised. But he's not the only one, unfortunately. So then, on that occasion, I didn't say anything, but afterwards I explained. I said, listen, your dad, when he went for 4 months, at that time, he was at a crossroads. And anyone that goes for 4 months, they're at a crossroads. There's a fork in the road. The dunya, with all its fake glory, is presenting itself to you. Come, take me. And on the other path, there's a path of deen. What used to happen before is that people would make a decision. People think, nah, I want dunya. So they just go for dunya, then the deen just goes. And these people who were going for 4 months, they made the decision. And they adopted the deen fully. So I said, I know so many people who had wardrobes full of jeans and t-shirts and fashion wear and everything, sacrificed it all. And you guys, you're trying to walk the middle path in between. Best of deen, best of dunya. As Molana Yaqub Sahib Rahmatullah used to say to me, that quoting Molana Yusuf Sahib Rahmatullah, that a person who tries to ride 2 horses doesn't manage to ride any horse. So a decision has to be made. A person has to fully commit to the deen. Then the benefit comes. Then I give an example. I said, look, we've done it. There's loads of people, your dad's done it, loads of people have done it. They've left their wardrobe of jeans and designer wear and everything, and their designer logos and everything, sacrificed it. And then look how Allah Ta'ala has blessed him. Allah Ta'ala has given him a son like you who's gone for 4 months, and all his life your dad's been striving because he made that sacrifice. Then I said, who are we? Who am I that I can give you an example of myself? Who's your dad? I said, let me give you a true example. Hazrat Musa, because youngsters nowadays, they tend to think that it's a new thing, you know, and most of you don't know how difficult it is. I said, listen, let me give you an example. Hazrat Musa bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. We all know which Sahabi this is. He's the one who spent the first year in the path of Allah. One of our Molana, he says to all the ulama who go in 1 year in Jamaat, he says that all of you who are spending 1 year, all of that reward goes to Musab bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala, who spent a year first, a youngster. Right? About Musab bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala, we all know that before he was very, very rich. He was the only son, well-to-do, brought up in luxury and everything. And he used to wear the most expensive clothes and the most unique fragrance his parents used to buy for him. 200 pounds used to be just the shirt that he used to wear in those days. And the perfume that he used to wear, when he'd walk through a street, people could tell, coming after him, could tell that Musab's being passed from here. But when Deen came, when he came to the fork in the road, he made a decision and he sacrificed. And then there came a time when he had nothing. He barely had enough cloth to cover his body. And he passed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cried. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said these words. These are the words of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which I have memorized to prove to you and to prove to myself that look, sacrifice has been given. And it's nothing new. And you can do that, I can do that as well. He said, look at these words. مَا رَأَيْتُ بِمَكَّةَ أَحَدًا أَحْسَنَ لِمَّةٍ وَلَا أَرَقَّ حُلَّةً وَلَا أَنْعَمَ نِعْمَةً مِنْ مُسَبِّ عُمَيْرٍ. I've never seen, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, I've never seen anyone with a better hairdo. So hairstyles is nothing new. Hairstyles is nothing new. I've never seen anyone with better footwear. Designer labels is nothing new. And I've never seen anyone with better dress sense, more debonair, more suave than Musab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala. But what did he do? He sacrificed it all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can be done. A person has to make a decision. That am I going for dunya or am I going for deen? Or am I going to stay in between? If you stay in between, you lose out on both. But a person has to make decision that inshallah I'm going to go for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then look how Allah ta'ala endowed and blessed Musab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala. One youngster from our masjid went in 40 days. It was his first 40 days, I think. So I gave him targheeb, don't take your phone. So he didn't take his phone, spent his time really well. In that Jamaat, near the end, he stood up to do Bayaan. In that Bayaan, as he's going along, he's smiling and talking. They got on to the story of Musab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala. He just mentioned him. He just started the story and he broke down crying. Tears flying around. And people just looking at him. Young kid, British born and bred, educated in this country. Then he tried again. He mentioned the name, he started crying again. Luckily for him, I was there. Otherwise, everyone would just sat there looking at him. I sat him down, I took over, wrapped up the Bayaan. I said afterwards to the brother, look at this guy. Because his Iman is risen, he's connected to Musab bin Umair. Just to mention, if he mentions his granddad, his great-granddad, he won't cry. Musab bin Umair mentions his name, so much love is in his heart. And Allah Ta'ala instilled His love into every person, every ummat's heart till the Day of Judgment. And what he gets in Akhirat, only Allah Ta'ala knows. Why? Because he made that sacrifice. So respected brothers and elders, we've got to also make a decision. Am I going to go for the deen of Allah? Allah has given me this understanding of deen. Allah has put me on this path. This noble effort Allah Ta'ala has given me. This beautiful effort. But am I going to be striving for the deen or am I going to keep on chasing the dunya which I'm going to leave behind? Everything's going to get left behind. And a person goes out in the path of Allah 40 days, that's banked with Allah. Every single step, every single penny, every single blink, every single breath is banked with Allah. One of our elders used to say, तुम्हारी एक आह बाग और बहार बन के आखिरत में तुम्हारे सामने आएगी. Every time you know, one Jamaat went recently, 40 days. So the person, he calculated, he said we worked in 17 masjids. He calculated that including markaz and everything. He said that means 30 times we packed up our luggage, carried it up the stairs, sometimes double flight of stairs, yeah? And then after 2 days when you're settling into a masjid, you've got your toilet, you know what I mean, isn't it? You've got your wuzu seat, yeah, like you have in your local masjid. You have your own cubicle, you know which one's right. Yeah? You pick your spot, you're getting comfortable, you got your charging port there, you've got your sleeping in this corner. And next thing, 2 days later, 3 days later, wrap it up, take it out, load it in the car, take it out, load it up the stairs. That in itself is massive mujahada. Yeah? And then you get brothers complaining, come on, make a line up the stairs, Mount Everest stairs. And somebody says, so what you got in your brakes? What do you expect? 40 days luggage, man, it's going to be heavy. Allah, you got such a big mister. Yeah? But just that in itself, that's a mujahada. Today we're afraid of mujahada. We're so accustomed to the easy life that we're afraid to do mujahada. And the Sahaba Kiram, they say, Inna wajadna khairal khairi fil kur. Whatever goodness we got in hardships, in difficulties. Hazrat Molana Sayyid Ahmad Khan Sahib Rahmatullahi, once in a Purana Majma, he said, you people are scared of mujahada. But in mujahada, what is in mujahada? He said in mujahada are two things definite. One is sawab and the other is sahat. One is reward and the other is good health. Then he gave an example. He said tahajjud. Tahajjud is a mujahada, getting up, waking up in the middle of the night to pray tahajjud. That's a mujahada. It's a difficulty. It's cumbersome. But in the hadith, it says a person who is regular with his tahajjud will get good health and the sawab, the ajr he's going to get. Another example he gave is som, fasting. Fasting is cumbersome, is difficult. But in that with that mujahada, you'll get good health. Now they talk about intermittent fasting like they've invented it. Yeah? Dr. Sahab, no offense. Yeah? Nabi Pak Sallallahu Sunnats. And it's good health and you get your sawab as well. He says safar, traveling. Safiru tasihhu. Travel, you'll get good health. In the hadith is mentioned. And you get sawab as well in the path of Allah. So mujahada, we've got to get onto the cart of mujahada again, brothers. We become accustomed to the easy living. Take it easy. Everything's chill. Yeah? I like it this way. I eat this and I eat that. I went in Jamaat once. So they put me in khidmat. So what happens in khidmat? You've got to make, if you really want to, be number one with the youngsters, yeah, make them burger and chips. I said, what did your last slave die of? I said, I ain't making that. Burgers and chips. I'll be slogging away all day in there. So people make chicken salad, yeah, or gosht salad or something. I made vegetables. They're like, I said, bro, there's Allah's made, there's man-made. Processed food is man-made, isn't it? Yeah? And there's all this natural food, that's Allah's made. I said, you don't like Allah made, you like man-made. Yeah? Anyway, so then I gave him targheeb. So one day I made leek soup. Leek soup. Yeah? They didn't even know what leek was. Many of you don't know, it's long like that. Yeah? It's from the family of onions. So I made leek soup, yeah, and it's green. And I toasted some bread and put the croutons on and a bit of parsley on top. And they all look at me. We thought it's dinner time, yeah? Not torture time. So I goes to her, I goes, listen, eat it. Believe me, you'll thank me. So I gave him targheeb. I said, listen, Tibb Nabi, prophetic medicines, I said, there's a kitab. Yeah? I said, Nabi Pak has talked about these foods. One day I made what's it called? Squash. Yeah? The butter squash. Yeah? So us people, we eat dodi, innit? But we only eat the green one that you get in Asian shops. But this is from the family of that. So I made that. Yeah? And the brother, he's like, oh, Mausa, I've never had this. I said, listen, believe me, thank me. You'll thank me. He said, no, Mausa. He said, what's the benefit? I said, it increases. Yeah? So I just said that. So he goes, Qasab, really? I said, yeah, man. I said, listen, come with me. So I took him, and there was a prophetic medicine kitab in the thingy, and I took it out, and I opened it. I looked in the thing, and it said God in there, and I took it. I said, and it said in there, Allah ka karna. I wasn't lying. But I knew all these foods that got benefit. It said, Ma'isha radiyallahu ta'ala narrates, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, eating God increases. He said, roll his sleeves up. Anyway, I made leek soup, yeah? So eventually I persuaded them all. Except one guy who no, I'm not having this. I said, up to you. Anyway, so they had it. Then next day, this guy comes to me, one of the youngsters comes to me and goes, Masa, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's happened. I said, what's happened? He goes, Masa, I only have to go to pee twice a day. Yeah, once in the morning, once at night. I don't know, I've been 6 times. Yeah, pishab hota hai, to urinate. I said, yeah, why do you think they call it leek soup? I said, it's detoxing you, bro. It's good for you. Yeah. Then the next time I made it, another youngster came to me and said, Masa, I can't stop. I said, boy, it's good. Your kidneys and everything getting, this is good stuff, man. And then the best one was I made something, I'm not going to mention what. And the next day, 3 of the guys had the towels on their shoulders before Fajr. They jumping around and I said, bro, I'm telling you, I'm making a man of you. But this is we stick to our deen, our success is in our deen, the benefit of our deen and dunya. Today the Gandu has enveloped us. The madness of the dunya, the people of the dunya are saying, come to this. Success is in this. Success is not in that. Success is in the ways of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In eating, drinking, sleeping, doing the effort of deen, praying namaz, everything. That's where success lies. And so we need to make a U-turn and come back to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fully devote ourselves to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Molana Yusuf Sahib Rahmatullah used to say, I heard this from the elders. He used to give the example. Dai Halima, the famous story of Dai Halima. Dai Halima came from the Bani Saad tribe. And in those days there was a custom that they'd come to the city and take the children into the countryside because the air was fresh and they'd grow up there. And so this was a custom. So every year the women used to come and they'd take the children. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an infant, Dai Halima came with the other women. Dai Halima radiallahu ta'ala narrates that at the time that we came, a drought had hit our locality. So we were all emaciated, our animals were very thin, no milk in the udders, and so we set off. And I was the poorest of all the women. So my animal, the camel that me and my husband and my son were riding on, was so weak that I couldn't keep up with them. And the other ladies had to keep stopping for us. And they kept saying that, oh, Dai Halima, why don't you speed up? She said, I can't. It's just going too slow. Then the night before we entered into Makkah, we camped outside Makkah. And she said the next morning the women had a right go at me. They said that your child kept crying all night. And because of that chain effect, our children started crying and we didn't sleep a wink. Why didn't you put it to sleep? So she said that because my child was hungry. So why didn't you give it some milk? I couldn't give him any milk because I had no milk, because she herself was very emaciated and weak. So she's giving this report of how she was before. Then they entered into Makkah. Now, I've not read this in any kitab, but this is my assumption, and inshallah it makes sense, it's not incorrect. Every woman must have stopped at Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And every woman must have wanted to take him, because he was the cutest baby ever. He had the nur of Nabuwwat in his forehead. Every woman must have wanted, they must have stopped there. But when they made inquiries, they found out that his father had passed away. Now this system that they had, although they weren't paid wages for taking the children, but what would happen is that a relationship, a connection would be created between the milk mother and the child's family. So then that child's family would support that woman and her family all their lives. They would endow them with gifts. So this was like their financial incentive for the women. But when they heard that this child's got no father, they thought that we're not going to get anything. Lagana parega, milega kuch nahi. We'll have to spend, we won't get any return. This was their assumption, so every woman moved on. Dai Halima radiallahu, as you know the story, to cut a long story short, eventually she says that I had no choice and I took Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She says, as soon as I took Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and held him to my bosom, held him to my breast, she said, my taqdeer, my kismet changed. She said, I filled up with milk. I gave him milk to drink, and he drank, and he drank, and he drank, until I got tired. Then I switched him over to the left side, but he wouldn't drink from there. Then I switched him over to the right side, he drank from there again. Then I took my own boy, and I gave him milk from the left side. And I realized that this baby is generous even in infancy. He is not unjust, he won't take anyone else's right, he only drinks from his side. And then she says that we went to our camel. Our camel, the udders were dripping with milk. So I milked it, and I drank to my fill, and then my husband drank to his fill, and then we set off. The other women had already set off, and then we set off, and then my camel overtook their camel. Turbo boost. And the women are saying, where do you get this camel from? It's the same camel. What happened to it? I don't know what's happening. But I think this is all the barakah and the benediction blessings of this blessed child. She said, we went back to our locality. My children would take my flock to graze, and they'd come back nice and fat and lean and brimming and dripping with milk, and all the other animals would come back hungry, empty of milk, and the women would come to us and say, which pastures do you take your animals to graze to? Because your animals are really fat. She said, oh, it's not the accomplishment of the pastures, this is all the accomplishment of this child. The women rejected him, thinking we will have to spend on him, we'll get nothing back. The women rejected him, thinking he's an orphan. Dai Halima accepted him, not knowing that he is a prince of mankind. He is a leader of mankind. He is a Habib of Allah. And when she took him, her dunya and her akhirat changed. And not just hers, her family's as well. Molana Yusuf after narrating that, he used to say in the same way, today the deen of Allah has become yatim, orphaned. Nobody wants it. Even practicing Muslims, they say, mashallah. Yeah, deen's very good, mashallah, in our masjid, Ramzan, mashallah, nare takbir, nare risal, alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's all very good. But don't bring deen, don't talk about, Mawlana Sahib, don't talk about deen in my business. Because then I won't be able to defraud people. I won't be able to consume interest. I won't be able to do haram. Yeah, mashallah, deen is all very good and everything, but wedding, 1 week chutti. Sometimes you see somebody, brother, first of Namazi, I've not seen you for a while, have you been away? No, we had a wedding in the family. For a week? Yeah, we had a bit of a bash, yeah. So what about namaz? Kaza kar li. Ya Allah, what happened? You just compromise your thing. Sometimes you go to a wedding, I usually try to avoid it, but sometimes, they insist. So you go and you're sitting there with the Haji Sahib, the granddad, and then the band starts playing and the dancers come on, and you're like, you don't know where to look. You're looking at Haji Sahib, he's looking at you. And you say, Haji Sahib, aapke ghar ki shadi aisi? Your wedding? I didn't expect that from you. He goes, he starts crying, he goes, Masahib, I didn't know as well. But what happened? The wedding planners, the younglings, they kept it all under cover. Don't tell Dada, don't tell Nana, don't tell the elders, because they're a bit fanatical. They'll stop us. What happened? Deen being compromised. But he used to say, Jo Mai ka lal deen ko apnaega, us yatim deen ko apni zindagi ka maqsad banaega, और अपने सीने से लगाएगा, जिंदगी का मकसद बनाएगा, अल्लाह ताला उसको इस तरह नवाजेंगे जिस तरह के दाई हलीमा को और उसके घर वालों को दुनिया और आखिरत में नवाजा. But a person who stands up and he has the courage to stand against his family, against the norm. Wrong is wrong even if everyone's doing it. Right is right even if no one's doing it. He'll get the abuse hurled at him. He'll get his own family. Some people say, myself, family dawah, they didn't invite me and my family. Because last time I went, I looked for an opportunity, I started giving dawah in a nice way, Mawlana Sahib. I just gave you examples. I said, Mane maraye na khanas bhai, don't give my example. Now they went out, they didn't include me. I said, bhai, this is it. For deen, you have to make these compromises. Mawlana Sahib, I'm going 40 days every year. My brothers, my sisters, people in my community, they're going on holiday, taking their families on holiday abroad. Mawlana Sahib, I can't go. Because if you go on holiday, you can't go for 40 days. Which boss is going to give you double leave? So Masab, I just take my family locally, Lake Districts and this and that. I think, Masab, I want to take a Maldives and stuff as well. I said, but this is sacrifice. You're going to have to compromise. You can't be riding both horses. You will have to give a sacrifice. And that is what mujahada is. That is what qurbani is. That is what deen requires of us. Yeah, you suffer. Your dunya will suffer. Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it beautifully. Whoever gives preference to dunya, his akhirat will suffer. Whoever gives preference to akhirat, his dunya will suffer. You can't get best of both worlds. So he said, and he gave the best advice. So he said, so therefore give preference to the akhirat and bear the hardships and the loss of the dunya. Because dunya is passing, dunya you're going to leave. But the real person, a brave person, stands up and says, no, I'm going to adopt the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to make that sacrifice. And when he takes on this orphan deen, this deen that is being adulterated and under attack. I was reading recently, Molana Abu Hassan Nadwi Rahmatullah, he's written, a great alim, he said, the war that is being waged against Islam by the Muslims. Allahu Akbar. Muslims adulterating, changing, compromising the deen of convenience. The person who stands up says, no, I'm for the deen. I'll go 4 months, I'll go 40 days every year, I'll do 3 days every month, I'll do my gush, I'll go to the masjid, I'll bond with the ulama kiram, I'll sit in the tafasir, I'll sit in the halqas, I'll do my zikr, I'll do my amal, I'll invite other people, I'll make the sacrifices for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person who has the courage to do that, and he adopts the orphan deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this day and age, Allah ta'ala will bless him like Dai Halima was blessed in the dunya and akhirat. So Allah ta'ala grant me and all of us tawfiq. Is your time now, brothers, to make your intention, inshallah. Give your intentions.